Armen and Levack, 104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports. Bucs NFL writer for the Tampa Bay Times, Greg Auman, joining us now. And Greg, this Tampa Bay team is 3-4. They allowed the Redskins to climb back into the game and beat them last week. You can argue they're a few plays away from 5-2. Can you make the argument that Tampa Bay at 3-4 is underrated?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think they've been responsible for their losses, don't get me wrong. But, if they go 1 yard against the Redskins, that's a touchdown that puts them up by 10 minutes to play. So that's an easy win you can give them. And then they're 4-3. Texans game, if they have probably their current kicker, is probably a different game as well. So, yeah, they're definitely better than their record, which is more than you'd be able to say about this team for a while.
Greg, when you look at Jameis Winston, what would you give him as a letter grade so far this season?
On the body of his work, maybe a B or a B minus. I mean, I definitely started poorly. Had 7 picks in the first 3-4 games. But for him to go the last 3 games without any turnovers is remarkable. I mean, he went 2 straight games without an interception once in college, and that's it. I mean, turnovers had been a part of who he was as a quarterback, had been kind of a point of uncertainty and concern going into this year. So for them to be 2-1 in these last 3 games and an almost 3-0 really is a testament to how far he's come that way. I think he's gone a long way, and if he can keep limiting those mistakes, he'll be a very good quarterback.
Greg Auman of the Tampa Bay Times previewing Giants at Bucs this Sunday, 4:05 kickoff on Fox. Greg, Jameis Winston, well documented. He was a knucklehead in college. How is this guy off the field?
So far, has said and done all the right things. We wrote a story this week about how quickly he's established himself as the leader of this team. I mean, it's hard when you're only 21 years old. Everybody around you is older, has more experience. But I think he's really earned the respect of his teammates, going in early, putting in the work, establishing himself as a hard worker, and improving himself. I mean, I think he's picked up the offense well. I think his instincts are already there as an NFL quarterback. And again, he's taken what was his biggest concern, his biggest weakness with these turnovers, and at least in the last 3 games, it has put that to rest for now. Now, it could be very different on Sunday, but for now, it's something he's doing well.
Greg, the New Orleans Saints, Drew Brees throws 7 touchdown passes against the Giants defense, makes them look like a turnstile on the way to the end zone almost every drive. Can Tampa Bay's offense do that to the Giants defense?
I don't think they're good for 52, but I think they can move the ball. I mean, they probably have a better running game, honestly, than New Orleans does. I mean, Doug Martin is top 5 in the NFL in rushing. They don't have all of their offensive personnel. Please know that. I mean, Vincent Jackson is out with a knee injury. There's a good chance they'll still be without Austin Seferian-Jenkins as their best tight end. But even given that, Winston threw for 297 without those 2 last week. Their receiving core is a very young, inexperienced group, but it's one that's made plays. So no, I think they can. I think they can score 30, which might be enough to win. No one's going to have a day like Brees had last week.
Greg Auman of the Tampa Bay Times, at Greg Auman on Twitter. Greg, how much talk has there been about JPP and what to expect from this guy from the offensive perspective of the Bucs?
He's a guy that people in Tampa know well. I covered him at USF, his 1 year there. It was so neat to see him come from, he went from virtual obscurity in junior college to, putting up All-America type numbers in his 1 year at USF, becoming a first-round pick. I don't think he's been in Tampa for a game since then, so it's really neat to see him have a chance to come home if he can. I think when he got hurt this summer, people wondered, I think Bucs fans would probably be okay with him not playing Sunday, but I think a lot of people in town wondered if he'd get back in time for this game. So if he is able to do that, would certainly be neat for him to have a homecoming and get back here to Tampa and play in his home state as well, just because he's from the East Coast of the state.
What's the key matchup you're looking for in this game?
If I had to ask a key matchup, I would say it is Odell Beckham and Jonathan Banks. And I don't know for sure that they'll have just one person on Beckham. But this secondary for the Bucs has been a major weakness. They're on pace right now to have opposing quarterbacks have the best passer rating any team has ever allowed in NFL history. It's not a record you want to have. I think it's like a 111 quarterback rating for the season. They've just not done a good job. They've had very limited interceptions. They've given up about 15 passing touchdowns. And then you add to that a dynamic threat like Beckham, who's coming off of a 3-touchdown game. Manning obviously is hot right now and not making very many mistakes. So Definitely it's the Bucs secondary versus the Giants passing game, and as an extension of that, I would say it's Banks and whoever they have trying to contain that.
Greg Auman, Tampa Bay Times. Greg, how you see this game playing out?
High scoring. Geez. Whichever team can come up with stops and turnovers. I mean, the Bucs won last week because they got 4 takeaways and they made no mistakes. So if they can do that again, that's a win for them. But again, it's not always easy. I mean, in the past, Eli Manning was a guy you could count on for interceptions. He hasn't been that guy this season. They've got to get pressure at the line of scrimmage, and they have to do that without some of their best players that are out with injury on the D-line as well. But if the Bucs can get turnovers, if they can, again, this is a game where it might take 31, 35 points to win. But I think it'll be a close game, but a game the Bucs can win at home if they play well.
Greg, now, every league, my sleeper tight end was Austin Safarian-Jenkins. Everybody mocked me. I went early. I got him in every single league. He made me look brilliant week 1. When is this kid coming back?
That's a question we've been asking every week for about 3 weeks. It's frustrating in that he's able to run really well in practice, catch really well in practice. They're just being very careful about the structure of his shoulder, the strength of his shoulder. He had an AC joint injury. I think he's ready to go. I mean, he last week told Lovey he was ready to go 100%, and they're just being careful with him. They've still listed him as being in a limited participation in practice, but they could use him. I mean, you guys know this, but I mean, no team in the NFL has given up more yards to tight ends than the Giants have. I think it's 684 yards this year to tight ends. Player after player gets touchdowns in 100-yard games, so they want to be able to exploit that. And they're in much better position to do so with ASJ out there than they would with Brandon Myers or Luke Stock or any other guys they could put out there at tight end.
I didn't even realize the Giants were that bad at covering the tight end. Look at that. Greg Auman, Tampa Bay Times. Better of doing my job than me. Greg Auman does it all at Tampa Bay Times. Covers every market. Greg, love it, man. Great work. At Greg Auman on Twitter, Tampa Bay Times online. Make sure to check out all of his different angles for this game. Giants at Bucs, 4:05 kick on Sunday. Greg, enjoy the game, man. Thanks for your time today.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Take care.